Are you trying to do more in 2024? Register now. See the link below. You'll get a free month with Dr. Eric Thomas, one of my mentors. So go ahead, click that link. Your circle will change as you accomplish your goals and level up. Everybody can't go. Good evening, guys, and welcome to another Everybody Can't Go Convo. Today with me, I have Michelle Byrd, LCPC. And if you don't know what that stands for, hold on, I'm about to get it because she just told me. Because, we do credentials, we do the letters, and it's like, well, what does that mean? That means that somebody is very qualified to do what it is they do. So LCPC, that is a licensed clinical professional counselor. So, I'm not just bringing to you guys like the homies and people that I've worked with, people who have coached me before, even though Michelle has done all of those things for me as well. I am also bringing to you guys people who are professionals in their field so that we can add some credibility and so that you're also able to hear from people who do this in their professional life and as the experts. So welcome. Thank you for coming on with us, Michelle.
Thank you.
And thank you for taking the time out of your busy schedule and out of your normal practice hours so that you can speak with myself as well as the audience. So today, I'll just go ahead and get us kicked off by asking you, what do you have going on right now?
Thank you. First of all, thank you so much for asking me and having me. Like, I really just don't even know how much I appreciate that. It means a lot for, to speak on podcasts and share information with people outside of what I do every day. What do I have going on? Teaching and facilitating workshops. I just finished a workshop series in December at a place called New Moms for residents, single mothers with children, talking about the disparities in healthcare and kind of like encouraging and inspiring them to advocate for themselves in the healthcare system, because we know that's so very biased when it comes to Black women. I am just ramped up my hours for doing mental health therapy. I do individual, I do couples, starting with college age and up. So I just ramped up those hours. The reason that I did is because I was doing a coaching for like 6 years. I did a coaching position, contractual position with a company, nonprofit. I just kind of I coach the people who work with violence prevention programs. So I coach those who go out and coach those that are on the street and that are participating in violence and things like that. So I was the coach for that. I did that for 6 years. And so my schedule kind of opened up because we just ended that 6-year project the end of December. So I ramped up my hours to take more clients for my private practice or my group practice, which soon will be my private practice. I am in the process of making it a PLLC, getting the website and all those things together so that I can begin my private practice. The goal is either sometime in the first quarter, definitely in the second quarter, getting that going. So that is what I'm up to, besides being a wife and moving and all these other things.
Cool. That's what's up. So I'm glad that you shared the flow of everything that's happening in your life and in your career right now. And you really just flowed us right into this Everybody Can't Go convo. One of the things that we have talked about on episodes past, and one of the things that I go over in the book is the mention of sometimes you need to move from one space to another. And in one of those areas that we don't necessarily consider all the time, it's moving from a job and that physical environment and also the social environment and the culture of a certain company. And I love that you brought that up because you're able to provide some context to making that transition. And there wasn't necessarily like anything like any stressors or anything that pushed you out of the position. It was just simply the natural ebb and flow of the contract is over, and that's okay. So what are your kind of just thoughts on exiting, and what are some of the feelings and things that you experience exiting without pretty much having like any type of conflict or anything? It's just the end of a season for you.
Yeah. And so two things. One, in the group practice that I'm with some amazing people in the group practice. But that practice had to do some things financially for its own good, which is cool. And then I had the coaching project, if you will, that I was doing. And that ended because the person that started that built his company was retiring. Right. And so what I love about both connections is that we will still collaborate with each other. Like it's like relationship is not ended. It's just that we have to do things differently. Same thing with the group practice that I'm with. And so not forced out by any stress or strain, if you will, and or by them as people, if you will, but by God. He's like, it's time to move. What you wait for? It's time to move. So things start to happen that made me look at where I am, what I said I was going to do before, and I did not move on it. And it's just kind of like putting a little glass in the little bird nest to say, like, you got it. It's time to go. And like, you don't have a choice. And so right now, the owner of the group practice and myself, we're working figuring out how we can continue to collaborate together while I'm going through the process to do private practice. And so we're going to keep that, they're my colleagues. We're going to keep that relationship going, but it is time for me to move in that direction. And so I had a little nudge. It wasn't stress. It wasn't conflict or anything, but I did have a little nudge to say like, it's time. And it was something I was planning to do the latter quarter of last year. But I'm like, I like the people and, we're collaborating really well and this is cool. And it was like, yeah, no, was not the plan. Like you're forgetting the plan, right? This is God. You're forgetting the plan. So it's really great because I have left positions where it was stressful and things like that. And so it's really good to be able to move on and people cheer you on who like I'm working for this lady in group practice who cheers you on. It's like anything you need. Like I've started obviously my own practice years ago. I can tell you what to do. So to have that collaboration and that support when you want to move to the next level feels really good not to have contention and having to do it under that type of stress.
That's really good. That's really awesome. And that puts me in that mind frame of, we talk about here that reason, the season, or the lifetime of a relationship of staying at a certain level, staying in a certain place, space, or in a relationship. And I like that you brought out that pretty much there was a reason for that era and that season in your lifetime, and that there was also a reason to move.
Right.
And that reason to move, it wasn't just a growth on your behalf, but it sounds like both other people that were involved, retirement, that is a great thing. Like,
Yes.
I celebrate everything.
Right.
So like just celebrating someone else's retirement, like that person is moving into a different season, moving to
Absolutely.
their next level in whatever retirement looks like, whatever
Mhm.
that next set of like dreams and goals looks like for that person.
Absolutely.
Even if the end goal is like, no, I'm about to chill in retirement. I'm traveling the
Yeah.
world, enjoying the grands, the great grands. I'm not doing a darn thing. I'm chilling because
Right.
that person has put in that work over time. And also the other party that you mentioned, who their business is going in a different direction, and you guys were able to part ways in a way that that there's still synergy there. It's still a mutually beneficial relationship, even
Absolutely.
in the split.
Right.
And I will point out to our audience some of the things that you've heard Michelle mention as a part of these splits that she is experiencing. There is still mutual benefit in those splits. The key thing, and this is one of the things that I had to realize in my own life, was that when you are keeping company with people who are meant to stay around for a lifetime,
Oh, yeah.
one, you're not always going to stay like super close. You're not going to be like the entire time. And also, the thing that I found out for myself personally was when it comes to other growth minded individuals,
Mhm.
it seems like that kind of just removes that animosity or
Oh yeah.
any of that, any jealousy or anything that is bred from one person remaining stagnant and the other person moving on, to their next level or going in their new direction. When your steps are ordered by God, and or when you, whether it's the universe, whatever you believe in, you get that push. There's something that is nudging you forward into the next thing, in your next space, into the next room, the next environment, the next place,
Yeah.
and sometimes into the next set of social situations. And I love to hear that all of you guys involved, though you're splitting up and going in your separate directions, everyone has a path forward that they're following.
Mhm.
And I would like to encourage you guys that are listening in. That's one of the things that I want you guys to examine and look at. If you're having trouble when you are making that separation or divide, really take a look at. Remember, it may be them, but it's not them. It's you. You're growing. You're changing, and take a look at. Are you growing and actually leaving somebody behind in a place where they are stagnant? That will give you a place to look at from their perspective. Look at the situation with a bit more empathy and not necessarily take the woe is me kind of route. It comes with a certain level of maturity, realizing that there will be people who may feel a certain type of way about you moving on, but taking that look at, are they moving on as well, and do they have something to move on or move up to? And so with that being said, I wanted to move into some of your expertise. When you have people coming in your office and on appointments with you, talking about these different life transitions and things, what are some of the I would say most common feelings that people bring to you as a result of making these separations?
That is a really good question. And well, first I want to say, and with my collaboration with the people that I'm working with, we're still trying to figure out, do I stay part-time here and part-time there? Like both things are going to be happening. We're still going to be collaborating. We still are very much friends, where we always have done work outside of this group practice. And so I just kind of want to point that out and give them their holler out because they're amazing. They're an amazing group of people. But it's interesting that you asked that because the theme that I am finding now, I work with both men and women, but the majority of my clients are women. And what I'm hearing more and more is that I don't have my people. I don't have my people. Like, I don't know what happened. I had a group I was a part of, and people trying, especially after the pandemic, people trying to find their way, even in their personal groups. Like, I don't have my group. And it's been painful for them as well, right? And so you find that sometimes we think our groups are within these jobs that we work, and then we're crushed when we leave and find out that they weren't our group. They were just like coworkers. In my case, I worked at a place for 18 years. And after that was over, it's one or two people maybe that out of a group of people that I still am connected with, unless I'm doing the reaching. If I'm not doing the reaching, we're not having any contact, right? And so sometimes we feel like that's our group, and sometimes it is, right? It is for that time. That's it. Sometimes the time is up. But in regards to needing to leave a position, it's like it's grief because you're feeling like you're losing something. Unless, of course, you was in such a volatile situation that it's a relief to be gone. Sometimes it feels like grief because it feels like a loss. Because I've been in this place, and even if it's contentious, maybe there's some people there that I really did get along with and I enjoyed working side by side with, and now I'm not going to have that anymore. But it's change, and the change is inevitable, and we have to accept the change and know that any relationships that end, it's not necessarily a loss. It was a gain on the journey. And any relationship that ends, God is going to replace those relationships with people who are on the same course as you or what have you, and you might still hang on to some of those relationships, but it's so I know it doesn't feel okay, but it's okay to move forward even if those relationships are not moving with you. Because sometimes the time is up. The gig is up. And yeah, I hope I answered the question.
Yeah, definitely, definitely. And you brought up one of those key words from the book, grief. And that is one of the things that I talk about in the book quite a bit as well, is working through those feelings of
Yeah.
grief and actually grieving, like going through the grieving process for the loss of a friendship or relationship dynamic. A
Hmm.
lot of times, we only want to grieve the loss of someone when they have passed away, or I noticed lately we're admitting to grieving the loss of a romantic relationship, but
Yes.
there's a lot of grief involved in friendship breakups as well.
Oh my
Um,
gosh. Like sometimes that's even worse. Sometimes for what I'm learning and what I'm seeing in clients is that is even that goes even deeper, right? Because even though you have a breakup in a relationship and that hurts, especially if there's longevity there, um, you know, not when you're in it. You probably don't know when you're in it, but at some point, like you're gonna date again. Maybe that just wasn't my person, but I have not ever heard anybody really like this was my girl, this was my guy, whatever. We were really close, and that doesn't feel like it can be replaced. Not while you're in it, because I've gone through that, even myself, gone through like being a part of an entire group. And I mean, the group was probably 6, 7 people. And then that group moved forward and you're in a subtle way, not invited to move with it. And what do I mean? Like find out things are happening and you didn't know about it and stuff like that. And so when you go through a period of your life, a phase of your life with a group of people or with a person, and especially like that was my girl or whatever, and that ends without explanation, that I find can be very difficult for people to, because it's like why you want an explanation, you're trying to check to see if it's something that you did. And that's not just me. I get that when I'm talking with clients that's dealing with that too. Like, where did I go wrong? Did I miss something?
mhm.
Like, what happened? Like, um, yeah. And so that happens, and that's a form of grief too. So sometimes it's even worse losing a good friend, or you know, or that relationship ending, or somebody you thought was a good friend. Because how did I miss all these years that this wasn't what I thought it was? How did I miss
Yes.
that? Right. And what I look back in my journey and my experience, where I am today, I now understand that I don't think, I know that there are no other, the other people, we weren't equally yoked.
Mhm.
We weren't equally yoked, right? Um, yeah, we weren't equally yoked. And so now that I'm thinking about it, because I became a part of BU and all that, I think that kind of like moved into my life as this other thing was moving out. And it was still really very difficult to go through and transition with. But now when I look back, I'm like, yeah, that was no longer, let me just say this, that was no longer working. I will never poo-poo on any relationships because it must have been working at some point you were in it, right?
Mhm.
It had to be working at some point, or it was something you were supposed to get out of it or give to it. And that's why it showed up, whether it is like learning something about myself, self development, or whatever the case may be, right? So, not holding any grudges, just like embracing the fact that God blessed the opportunity to be a part of it, and made the decision that it's time for it to be over.
Yeah, that's
And
facts.
that's not easy.
Yeah, it's not easy, and that is all facts. And I love the way, even in your, like, I could see the emotion, and even your, I would describe it as restraint and eloquence in describing, how that situation happened for you, and the way that you navigated through that and worked through that,
Mhm.
and even still in your speech and in the way that you speak about those past relationships, having eloquence and maturity with that exit. I can definitely say for me, it took some time to get there because I did have to realize where, that reason or season, albeit sometimes those seasons are long. And
Yeah.
so we're
Yeah.
thinking that that season is a lifetime thing. And it's like, oh, nope, gotcha there, buddy.
Yeah.
And I can definitely heavily relate to the way that you described that as well.
Yeah.
And just the navigating through those feelings
Yeah.
of well, what did I do wrong? Did I do something wrong? And even you pointing that out, another thing that I'll point to, one of our buzzwords, accountability,
Yes.
that we don't really realize sometimes until we have the language to describe some of the habits and behaviors that we have, that if you're the type of person who takes accountability for your actions, things that you said or done that may have hurt someone, whether that was intentionally or unintentionally, it's very easy for, if you are familiar with accountability, or even
Yes.
practiced it before, we started to experience Breathe University and
Right.
being coached by our ETA coaches, our extreme execution coaches, just being one of those people that is like, well, girl, you said such and such, and the way that you said that really hurt my feelings. Oh my God, my bad. That was not my intention.
Right.
I Now that you're saying it back to me and telling me how you felt when I said it,
Yes.
I can see how that would have been hurtful to you.
Right.
I had no intention of being hurtful when I said what I said. I could
Mhm.
have delivered the information better, but my only intention was to try to help. Let's
Yes.
talk about this some more. In the future, what way can I communicate with you better so that I am fully
Absolutely.
helping and not helping while kind of like beating you up at the same time?
Yes.
And
And
one of
with that being said,
Mhm,
being okay with somebody else might not be there, may not be able to do that because that's not where
mhm,
they are in their journey, and that's okay. And then being able to tell yourself that if because in Breathe University, but also in the spiritual realm, if somebody's done something to offend you, go and let that person know so that it can be fixed. Well, if the person never lets you know, you have no, like, what are you fixing? You have no
yep,
idea what that is, right? And so you can only do your part. You cannot control how the other person moves in that connection at all.
mhm,
But what I am learning, because I haven't learned because I'm still learning. It's a process, right? It's no ending to this process. So what I'm learning is that anytime I start to feel a way about how something ended or what somebody did, is to like take a look inside, right? Like, why am I feeling like somebody did something to me? Nobody did anything to me. They moved in a way that they needed to move for them,
mhm,
which could very well have nothing to do with me. Probably 99.9% has nothing to do with me. And what is for sure, if you don't say it has something to do with me, it doesn't have anything to do with me. Yeah.
yeah, that's very true. And as far as that turning the look inward, that is one of the things that I had to look at, where I really had to separate the emotions from the facts.
Yeah.
Facts
Yes.
over feelings. The facts are this whole list of stuff that says like, no, you're being treated poorly. You are a willing participant because now that I know, you're a
Right.
willing participant in a parasitic relationship or
Yes.
relationships. So what is it about me that causes me to say, "Oh, well, but I still want to be friends." And it's like,
That is so
do you
good.
have a trouble do you have trouble with letting go? And I'm like, "Oh, self said, hmm." And I'm like, we have a problem with letting go. And
Yes.
I really had to like do some introspective thinking, and not just, again, that accountability piece. I
Right.
can't just take accountability for the things that are positive aspects of me. I got to take accountability for it all. The
Yes.
things that other people point out to me, the things that I figure out about myself, the stuff that I'll be like, ooh, and self be like, mm-hmm, yep,
Right.
girl,
Yeah.
I got to take accountability for all of that stuff. And what I
Absolutely.
had to look at was some of the relationship dynamic that was I was on the losing end of the stick. I had to see where I was a willing participant by way of acceptance and or by being silent to, little
Yes.
microaggressions or,
Yeah.
small red flags here and there
Right.
that we may look past because it's like, oh, but that's my homegirl, that's my homeboy, like
Right.
that's my guy, that's my boy, that's my cuz right there. And it's like, and sometimes I've even heard people say, and some of you who were kind of like the catalyst for me going ahead, sharing my story and writing the book. There have been people whom I've come across where it's their own children, that adult children who
Yeah.
are overstepping certain sets of boundaries and creating a parasitic dynamic between a parent and child.
Right.
And, from a mother or father's aspect, it's like, well, dang, that's my child. I'm not supposed to. And it's like,
Mhm.
while that is true, once
Right.
once somebody is grown, and that same
Mhm.
dynamic can be created, whether if you out here rich auntie vibes, ball out uncle vibes, and Jessi love the kids. I was born an auntie. So yes, rich auntie vibes all over the place.
Right.
But there is a certain level and a certain degree to which even I had to look at, am I just doing it for them, or would they benefit more in their own lives for me to teach them and help them to a certain way, but then I have to fold my hands and sit back and let them do it
Yep.
because I won't always be here. Or
Right.
what happens when I don't have time? What happens if I don't have the capacity? What
Right.
happens if I can't buy you out of a situation anymore?
Mhm.
And just thankfully, for me, I've been able to establish those relationships where we have a nice healthy set of boundaries where it's like, okay, like, no, Auntie Jessi, I don't know what, and it's like, oh yeah, no, you're not just crying wolf, like you're ringing the
Right.
alarm because you really do need help, and so I got you. But
Right.
that can become hard to do when the other party or the other person, it's they always got an emergency,
Right.
and someone else's lack of preparation and lack of preparing becomes an emergency for you.
Right.
And when
Yes.
you're a willing participant in, every time your homegirl call, every time your boy ain't paid the rest of his rent, every time, oh well, they took out extra for back old child support, whatever it is, whatever is the dynamic, oh, such and such light's about to get shut off again. You notice when certain things are happening,
Right.
every
Right.
time somebody is in a certain kind of bind, oh, such and such need a ride again.
Right.
And once you start to pay attention, you'll notice patterns in people's behavior
Right.
that there are certain people who they will come to you repeatedly
Right.
because they know you gonna say yes,
Mhm.
whether you want to or not, and whether you got it or not, and whether it's going to cause you a hardship or not. And as long as you're going to keep saying yes to your own detriment, takers will keep taking. It doesn't
Exactly.
matter who they are, whether it's a
Yeah.
friend, a person that you dating in a relationship with, whether it's family members,
Right.
whomever you allow to overstep boundaries, or if you never establish your boundaries or figure out what do you need first. If
Right.
you never took the time to put your own mask on first and you putting it on somebody else, I mean, they just gonna sit back in their seat while the plane going down.
Mhm.
You don't put the mask on them. They just gonna look at you. Oh shoot, I think you passing out. They should have put their mask on first.
Mhm. Yep.
And a
And you
lot of
said something very key about boundaries. Two things. One is about having these boundaries with people,
Mhm.
and when people really care about you, first of all, when you set a boundary, it means that other people around you have to move different with you. And if I'm not ready to move differently, then I got an attitude because you got a boundary, right? If I love you for real, I might be a little taken aback, but I'm gonna think about that and I'm gonna respect the boundary. The telltale sign of when it's time to let go of a relationship is that you really do not respect my boundaries no matter what. And the reason that you don't is because my boundary means you have to change the way you move with me, and you don't want to do that because it's not advantageous for you. So that means this connection needs to end. The other thing that you talked about, like having these people in our spaces, really do mirror who we are and what we need at the moment, because we're not just like happenstance in these relationships. What did you need at that moment in your life? The reason that you drew this person into your space and you stayed, it was something. You weren't ready. When you're ready, you got what you were placed there and came there to get. And not that you're like trying to get something from somebody. We all, when we're in relationship with someone, we're all getting something from one another. And whether we're not intentionally doing that, consciously doing that or not, you are. It's like you're in this relationship because you get something from it. Who is that? Ayana Vanzana thinks there's like, what's your payoff? Dr. Phil says, what's your payoff? Right? Because you're getting someone out, you're getting something out of this. So whether that person, I don't know, I use an example, like maybe you're an introvert and that person is an extrovert, right? And that's kind of like you wish you could be an extrovert. And this is all subconscious. Well, you're going to be in that person's space. But somehow these personalities are clashing. And at some point, it's like, that's not worth it. But everything that happens, every relationship that we have in our lives are in our lives and on this journey for us to get something from, and we should be growing in them. Even if we have to let them go later, there should be some growth, right? And so because of the growth, because of even if it's a negative or toxic thing that was happening, that too helped in the growth. And so appreciating and being grateful for that. Wow, it's like, Lord, I could have got this lesson a different way, but you presented it this way. I thank you for that, right? And then get the growth and keep it moving. I can look back on some of those relationships and see that just from a distance, because I'm not personally involved with people anymore, but I am still involved with people who are involved. And just looking back and being experiencing, because we do share the same spaces sometimes, it's difficult to see, no, there's just no growth. I'm just going to be flat out honest and authentic and say it. There's no growth. How do I know there's no growth? Because you can't enter a room and speak and be cordial. Cause what? Right. So it's like, and that's okay. That's them. Right. I still speak. I still go on about, my business. When I speak, I don't speak with contention. I just say hello. Cause I don't have any more dog in this fight, if you will. I just don't. So, and I'm continuing, in my own therapy work, and my soulmate girlfriend is a therapist, and we talk all the time. You get outside your body and in your feelings, and you need somebody that's going to hold you accountable and be like, okay, so what is that really about? Right. And a lot of times that we used to talk about can't let go. It's just based on our attachment styles. If we had an anxious attachment style, it is hard to let people and things go. It just is, right? And the more that we heal in this attachment style, the easier it'll be, because then it doesn't feel like somebody's leaving me, because that's what it is. Not being able to let go is feeling like you're being left. And that sucks. That doesn't feel good. But the more we heal and grow, the more we realize, like, okay, well, this journey is over and nobody did anything to me. They did whatever they needed to do for themselves. And it is for my benefit that this is happening, and nothing's happening to me. It's happening for me. And when we look at it like that, we can let it go, let people move on. And instead of looking at the hurt that it caused, when you look at them, look at they needed to do what they needed to do for whatever reasons in their lives.
Right. And you know what? I want to stay right there for a sec. When you said that, because I was like, oh yeah, that's good. When you talked about having that anxious attachment style, mm-hmm. and feeling like other people are leaving you, when you said that did actually, it took me back to the way that I felt at the time. Yes. And now I'm like, oh, I got to do some more research, get with you offline and do some, look into this anxious attachment style and the different attachment styles that there are. Right. But, I thought about it, and I think I did have the feeling of being left behind, all mm-hmm. the while not realizing, and here's your nugget, here's your gem, take the note right here. The whole while I had the feeling of others leaving me behind, I didn't realize until a while later that nobody was leaving me. I was the one that was elevating away. Yeah. I was growing away. And it wasn't until things came almost full circle that had I known that at the time, it would have given me an easier route through my grief process.
Yes.
And again, looking at those facts over feelings, that was a fact that I didn't have it on the list because I didn't notice.
Right.
And I have been told before, like, you're humble to a fault, because I'm always under the guise that, like, oh well, if I can do it, you could do it. And
You want
one
to
of
bring
our
the
coaches.
people that you love with you.
Exactly, exactly. And one of the things one of my mentors, ET, said during a coaching session, I'm like, hashtag everybody can't go. And he's like, oh, but everybody can go. And I'm like, yeah, that's how I ended up with the brand. Everybody can't go. Because I do believe everybody can go. But the question that I didn't ask and what I didn't assess was, does everybody want to go?
Okay.
Is everybody willing to go? And if
And I
other people,
understand that hashtag everybody can't go, that everybody, and this is just my perspective, that everybody can't go means that if you're not ready to go, if you ain't trying to go, you can't go.
hmm
Everybody
yep,
has the opportunity to go. Right. Yeah. No, that's really good.
and that's it right there. That keyword opportunity. Everybody has the opportunity to go, and I mean everybody does have the opportunity to go with you, but it's up to us, and we're making a personal choice when we decide, because we're moving, and you trying
Yes.
to pick people up, and you're trying to, okay
Dragon.
guys, come on, and I'm just gonna, we can all get there, and your hands are supposed to be working, but you done picked up all this other stuff, all
Yeah.
these other people, all these other things that it wasn't meant for you to carry those things or those people on your
Right.
journey with you. And so that's the point at which you do have to, you kind of have to get tough with yourself, not get
Right.
tough with somebody else. You have to get tough with yourself,
Yes.
and address that feeling of, excuse me, of feeling like people are leaving you behind. It's okay to admit to yourself when you are the one who is leaving,
Right.
because of your growth, because you're elevating. Because when you really think about it, at the core of it, that's exactly what you worked for.
Yes. And I
Whatever
think that
amount.
we don't realize that we're growing and elevating. And
Mm-hmm,
I'm just doing my, like, you're just doing your thing. I'm just doing my
mm-hmm,
thing. Girl, come on, because I'm doing my thing. You want to do this thing too? Like, you don't realize that you're elevating. It's like, I'm just doing what I'm thirsty to do, what I was called and purpose to do, what God gives me the energy to do. You don't realize like you're growing, and maybe subconsciously you don't realize, like maybe you do realize that, and you're afraid to leave people behind, but you're not really consciously thinking about, um I'm elevating past them. It's just
mm-hmm.
like, I'm doing my thing and I want them to go. What's wrong? How come you're not coming? Like, what's wrong? Like, come on.
Because you don't pay attention if you're a
Yeah,
step or two in front of somebody.
you
If you and
don't.
I were walking side by side on a crowded street, and I'm a step or two ahead of you, I'm, as long as we can hear each other's voice, I'm not going to keep turning around backwards to make
Right.
sure that you're still just over my
Because I
shoulder.
can hear you.
hmm I'm still focused on where I'm going and the end destination, because we're headed to the coffee shop.
Right.
I'm focused on getting to the coffee shop or
Yeah.
wherever our destination is. It's not until I get to the coffee shop, get to a milestone, get
Yes.
to a level of goal achievement where I go to open the door and it's like, girl, wait, where you at?
And
You
what
all
we
the way
do,
back
we get on
there?
the phone and start calling, and they were like, "Oh yeah, I changed my mind." Like, why? I'm at the shop, girl. Come on,
Mhm.
right?
Yep.
Instead of like, okay, I got work to do. See you later.
Yep. And meanwhile, you don't realize that you've been talking to yourself for a half a block
Yes,
until you get to that coffee shop and open the door.
that
And
is so good. That's a really good analogy, because you literally could be talking to your friend, but you are talking to yourself. Because they
yep.
don't get it,
hmm and
right?
and that's the space and the place where I would like for people to be more aware of,
Yeah,
we need to pay a little bit more attention, because it's easy when the person is right beside you in tandem, but it's also very easy to pay attention and see when you aren't talking to yourself, but when they're throwing dirt and throwing negativity on top of whatever your dreams and goals are. You're going to
yeah,
notice if you guys are moving together. You definitely gonna notice if they discouraging you from where it is that you're trying to go. But
yeah.
it's that quiet one step ahead, 3 steps
Mhm.
ahead. I'm
Mhm.
7 steps ahead. You were half a
Right.
block back. Oh, well, I decided to take a right turn or a left turn, once you got so far ahead and y'all not
Right.
even on the same street no more, but you just
Right.
steady, like, because you're thinking everything's good, everything's cool.
Right.
And the realization of some of that and how we're changing, growing, and elevating, and sometimes taking that inventory before we get to that
Right.
milestone, before we
Right.
reach the goal, that can kind of help, I would say, to quell some of that feeling of grief, because
Right.
you're able to see it coming from a bit further away. It doesn't hit you like a ton of bricks, and then it's
Mhm.
like, well, what happened? And
Right.
then when you have that what happened moment, that's where it's easier for that drama to kind of like wedge its foot in the
Mhm.
door and kick things wide open, and it becomes this big whole thing that
Right.
is, oh, such and such beefing with you, and it's like, how they beefing with me? I still don't know what I did. Like,
Right.
beef, there
Yeah.
is no beef. But if you had the wherewithal, or if I had the wherewithal, to take a look and examine some of the things that were happening prior to, and notice that point at which that I was talking to myself, I would have
Right.
been able to see it coming a bit
Mhm.
more before it got to the point of, I would have been able to eliminate some of the parasitic portion of the relationship as
Yep.
things came to an end. I would have been
Mhm.
able to properly take inventory and examine where we were starting to veer off in different directions,
Yes.
or where the other person or people were becoming comfortable in their stagnancy. And that
Mhm.
I could notice that for me, like, ain't nobody leaving you nowhere. You
Right.
you've taken 3 extra steps ahead. Now you're 7 steps ahead. Now you're all the way
Mhm.
down the street. And that
Right.
was something that I could have noticed, and something that I had control over in affecting and changing how the situation went down, and how the conflict could have been somewhat more controlled,
Mhm.
had I had more of that insight into myself.
Right.
So that's part of the reason
Yeah.
why I'm bringing this to you guys and getting the pros on, to so that don't just, I'm not just on here talking. I want you guys to actually have some people that are coming to speak with you with me as well, so that you can so that I can be sure that I'm speaking to you guys in a proper context, and also so that those who have studied, went to school for this, that this is their profession, and so that we can have people from the clinical side in here to back it up. Everybody has an opinion. And we say everybody has an opinion, everybody's right. I'm not one of the people. Everybody ain't always right. Sometimes folks just
Right.
be dead wrong, and
Right.
I want to make
Yeah.
sure as much as possible that I'm not one of those people that are coming to you guys with a bunch of opinions that don't have resources cited, don't have credible sources cited. Because let's be real, it's a ton of stuff out here on the internet that
Right.
will tell you otherwise, and will have you running around with stinking thinking. Your
Right.
thinking will be messed up because you'll see it on your TL repeatedly. And some
Mhm.
of the things that we see repeatedly about relationships and how to handle conflict and relationship dynamics and those changes, a lot
Right.
of the stuff that we see that's going into our subconscious and our psyche is just straight up wrong, and it's not
Mhm.
healthy.
Yeah.
It may have
Mhm.
had healthy origins, but a lot of things have been twisted and moved away from some of that clinical portion that we do need to have professionals helping us.
Right.
So yeah,
Yeah.
I really thank you for coming on and lending credibility to some of these things and some of the stuff that I talk about in the book.
No, I
And a lot
appreciate
of
the
these
opportunity.
things, for me, it has also come from going to therapy. Hashtag
Mhm.
end the stigma.
Yeah, yeah. And when I think about again, when you show up in these relationships, or they show up for you, it's something that you needed from that. You've gotten that. The time is over. And if they're still dwelling in it, they haven't gotten what they came to get, right? What they showed up and what they should be getting. And so you really just kind of grow. You got what you needed. It's no point in keep drinking Similac when you ready for meat. Like, it's no point in doing that. You got it already. So now it's time to move forward. And that can be difficult. And thinking about anxious attachment style, I do specialize in anxiety and depression, mainly anxiety. And a lot of time, and then anxiety just comes from that anxious attachment style that you were raised with. And it stems all the way back to childhood. And we do relationship any type of relationship based on what we saw in our families and how they manage relationships. Until we learn to do something different, we do it that way and we bring that to the table. And so does everybody else, though. Everybody's bringing their experiences to the table. And so once you've grown past that, then now you can say, okay, and you and I needed to be in those situations at the time that we were in them. Like we needed something from them, or else that wouldn't have happened. And now we've moved on because we've gotten what we needed. And then some people are like, why do I keep doing the same thing keeps happening? Because you didn't get it. It's just going to keep resurfacing until you do. And then once you do and you're done, then you're done with that. Right. And so I appreciate the opportunity to be here, to be able to share with people, with your world, your podcasting world out there. I appreciate the opportunity to share.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate you for coming on as well. You guys, don't worry. I am sure we will have Michelle back in the near future, in the coming months. You guys can look forward to having not only coaches, but also some clinicians to come on speaking with you guys about both the personal and professional development side of things, as well as that clinical side. There's a nice happy median in the middle. If you like, oh no, I just want the feel good part, that's fine. You can skip that podcast then and watch the ones that you want to watch. But we will have a nice mix and mashup for you guys, because I don't want to rob you guys of any of the opportunities that I had for the different stages of growth that I experienced and the way that I was able to level up. This was a part of it for me. It's not to say or force anything on anyone else, but any of the tools and resources that caused me to have what I call that quantum leap forward, or that helped me along my journey, and were things that were foundational, that were pivotal to my foundation, and making sure that that was solid as I began to build and grow with, I would say, the things that are permanent. Clinicians and people that have been trained in this as a profession, that was an integral part for me. Not just having people in my life that are clinicians as friends, as coworkers, but also going to one through my insurance, sometimes out of pocket. And so when we get into some of that stuff a bit later, I'm sure we'll have Michelle back when we begin to dive into, things on how to gain access to mental health care, how to have that paid for, the proper channels to go through. We'll definitely have her back for that. I've had a couple of requests from people over the past couple of weeks with, guiding you guys through how does this healthcare thing work and how do you gain that access to mental health care. A lot of people don't know we're about 15 years in the Mental Health Parity Act. And so, and also because of the stigma in some of our communities, there are a ton of resources that you have access to by law through your employment, through your job. And so I heard you guys loud and clear. There have been a few people that have reached out to me about that. I've heard you loud and clear, and we will have that coming soon for you guys in the future. And Michelle, is there anything else that you wanted to share? Anything that you have coming up in the next couple of months here that you wanted to share or shout out?
So I will share a shout out. I don't have any workshops or anything like that coming up. You can visit me on Facebook, Michelle Byrd on Facebook, because I'm always throwing out like mental health tips and inspiration, motivation, and things like that. I've been a little bit slow the beginning of this year because I have a lot going on and changing. So I'll be back into that regularly. You can reach me at chicagocompasscounseling.com if you are looking for services in the Illinois, because I practice in Illinois. And I'm on Psychology Today, and I'm on YouTube at Heads Up Mental Clarity. So you can reach me at those places, and feel free to reach out. And if I'm not the fit for you, or you need assistance in finding other resources, reach out and I can help you to do that. Thank you so much.
Awesome sauce. Thank you for that. We will have all of her handles and the information in the comment section below, in the description below. Please feel free to reach out to Michelle. If you have any questions, go ahead, drop them in the chat, drop them in the comments, and we'll be sure to get back to you guys and get you the information you need, even if it's offline. Some of the stuff, it will be personal. Be sure to utilize that Facebook Messenger. Go ahead and follow and friend Michelle. And the DMs are open. Facebook Messenger is
Also on
open.
Instagram, Mrs. Byrd LCPC. You can find me there too. So,
okay, cool. So those Instagram DMs are open for you guys as well. And even though, you got content coming out slowly during this month because, it's the beginning of the year, travel, a lot of stuff going on, moving parts, you guys just scroll back to some of the things, the content from 2023. Like when I tell y'all every other week or so, I was like, oh, yeah, Michelle got the, oh, wait, she live. There is a ton of content on her page that even if you're curious, you're interested, you want to just dip your baby toe in, not even your big toe, you want to dip your baby toe in. There are a lot of resources that are available there to you. And also you'll get a taste of other clinicians as well. If you're looking for a clinician who looks like you, whatever it is that you look like, that is always an option. And Michelle can serve as a gateway for you guys, and just here to serve as a resource. And thank you again, Michelle, for joining us. And we will see you guys next week.
Thank you. Bye. Say.